Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. Today we'll be taking a look at new Xbox Series X info, Valorant launching a massive tournament, Modern Warfare Season 4, and much more. Now we do this show every week, so be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to catch the next one. It looks like Xbox One users are getting the royal treatment with Microsoft's upcoming next-gen console. The Xbox Series X will reportedly add a bunch of features to Xbox One games. These features include enhanced upscaling, enhanced HDR, doubling the FPS of select titles, reduced load times, quick resume, and more. The upscaling will take games running at 1080p to native 4K, and while it might not mean that the games are actually being rendered in 4K, the output does look convincingly good. It's powered by the same technology that got older titles running at 720p to output at 4K on the Xbox One X. Considering how good that implementation looks, it's pretty much a given that the Series X will be more of the same. As for HDR, this takes standard dynamic range titles and interprets them for HDR output. The results do seem to be compelling, according to people that have tested it out anyway. The resulting image should look like a proper HDR output, not the typical make everything too bright and saturated effect on TVs with bad SDR to HDR converters. Both the upscaling and HDR will run natively on all the Xbox One titles supported by the Series X, which basically means all of them. This is huge for people debating on whether or not to buy the new consoles, as it means their existing library won't just work with the new hardware, it'll be directly improved by it. Select Xbox One titles will also feature some other improvements. 30 FPS titles will run at 60 FPS, while 60 FPS titles will run at 120 FPS. Load times across the board should be significantly decreased, and the Series X Quick Resume feature will work with all backward compatible titles, allowing you to hop in and out of your games quickly. Overall, it does seem like Microsoft is really turning over a new leaf. At the start of the current console generation, they caused huge concerns with the Xbox One's aggressive online DRM system and confusing reliance on console exclusives. Now they're releasing most, if not all of their exclusives on console and PC. They're also continually adding support for older Xbox 360 titles while touting new hardware that directly improves current gen titles. And that's not to mention Xbox Games Pass and xCloud's stream platform. Overall, it seems like a good time to be an Xbox player. Now, of course, it can't be a next-generation console launch year without Sony jumping into the fray. The big PlayStation 5 Reveal Event is scheduled for June 4th. Sony have been pretty tight-lipped about their next-gen console, especially compared to Microsoft. So far, we've gotten a few glimpses of the PlayStation 5 titles, a look at the new console's controller, a technical breakdown of the console's storage solution, and a bit of info about backward compatibility. We don't even know what the PlayStation 5 looks like. Hopefully all the secrecy comes to an end on the 4th. Sony are touting the event as a digital showcase that will run a bit more than an hour. The event will be broadcast globally on the official PlayStation website, though it's likely going to be available on streaming platforms like Twitch and YouTube. Aside from this announcement, the only new thing we've been told about the new PlayStation 5 is that Sony are mandating all PlayStation 4 titles need to work with it by July of this year. So any devs working on PlayStation 4 titles also need to validate it on PlayStation 5 as well. Hopefully that doesn't mean any major delays or issues for developers. Riot are launching Valorant alongside an official $200,000 Twitch Rivals tournament. The game launches officially on June 2nd, and the tournament will take place over the weekend. It's a multi-region event with the prize pool split among the different regions. The big question, of course, is, will the game be ready to be played competitively? Even in its final week of beta, there's some massive lingering issues with the game. Hit registration has several known issues that the devs say they will be patching up in time for the June 2nd launch, but you can't be sure without widespread testing. Likewise, out-of-map and hero ability exploits were still being discovered mere weeks before the closed beta's end. It's very likely some of these issues could compromise the Twitch Rivals tournament results. It's really up in the air just how successful Valorant will be as an esports title. Typically, games spend months or even years building a following and getting tons of support by the developers to become a mainstream esports game. Often when companies try to make their games an esport or position it as one at launch, the results are very mixed. Overwatch's competitive league, for example, is still skating on thin ice, despite Blizzard pumping millions of dollars into it. Valorant could very well end up being the next great esport, but it's really up to the players and viewers to make that happen. The first teaser for Call of Duty Modern Warfare's 4th season went live this week. It's a trailer that sums up the game's storyline so far. It also confirms Captain Price as the season's featured operator. 2 new weapons were featured in the trailer, the Galil assault rifle and the Vector SMG. Both are pretty popular weapons in the Call of Duty franchise, with the Vector being a notable gun from many other FPS games. Other weapons and new content has already been data mined, but the new season kicks off on June 3rd, and so far, Infinity Ward haven't confirmed much of anything. For here and now, Duos mode has finally been added to Warzone as a limited time playlist for the weekend. Hopefully, it sticks around a bit longer. The developers of Warface have launched a new paid title called Warface Breakout. It takes the classic bomb defusal mode from Counter-Strike and throws in Warface's blend of modern and near-future military gear. Currently, it's a console exclusive available on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The game is positioned as a competitive shooter designed specifically for console. Freezes, FPS drops, and general desync with hit registration seems to be the top issue. The usual issues like weapon balance, quality of life issues, and audio are also being reported. The devs were quick to respond to all of these issues and will roll out fixes as they're made. Escape from Tarkov's latest update has brought a server wipe with it. The update makes pretty significant changes to the game's trading system, while also making a bunch of gameplay changes. Traders now require completing an item captcha before accepting a trade. This is designed to prevent players from using bots to buy and trade items rapidly. The game features its own global economy of items, so if players can use bots to trade items, it puts regular players in a tough spot. Super rare items should also be much easier to find listings for now. The game's audio system has been updated with a new system called Steam Audio. This is Valve's in-house solution for immersive 3D audio that was originally developed for VR gaming. In terms of creating an authentic surround sound experience, Steam Audio is pretty top-notch. There's also a bunch of changes to the way items are labeled found in Raid, which should improve the overall flow of completing quests, upgrading traders, trading in general, and more. Insurgency Sandstorm is getting a major update very soon. It's currently available on the game's CTE server and adds night visions of all existing maps to the game. It also adds a new map called Tideway and a bunch of new gear like NVGs, scopes, and more. Sandstorm is notable for being a pretty accessible but still hardcore tactical FPS game. Its original standalone release featured night maps to great effect, but they've been somewhat absent from Sandstorm since launch. I'm taking a look at covering the new night mode in depth, so stay tuned for that video soon. Overall, this update is pretty major, and I think players will be very excited to get their hands on it. Rockstar's parent company, Take-Two, recently filed some annual documents that indicate they'll be ramping up their marketing budget between April 2023 and March 2024. Many news outlets took this to mean that they'd be releasing a major Rockstar title like Grand Theft Auto 6 in this window. The company has since clarified that this is their third-party title marketing budget, not their first-party one, which likely rules out big spending for a Rockstar title. That said, the massive boost to third-party marketing could indicate that they won't have a major first-party title in that window. It's reasonable to assume that they'll be spending big on some first-party titles either before or after the third-party marketing push. So buckle up for a possible GTA 6 before April 2023 or after March 2024. Nvidia's game streaming service GeForce Now is winning back some developers. The new platform has been in beta testing for years and finally went live earlier this year, but several publishers removed their games from it in the process. Bethesda and Activision both pulled their games from the platform, citing licensing issues. Basically, a lot of publishers had agreed to list their games on the service while it was in beta, but were not okay with it when it went live. Nvidia are responding by making their service opt-in rather than opt-out. Before this change in policy, any game on a supported platform like Steam or Epic Game Store could automatically appear on the GeForce Now service, assuming the publisher or developer okayed it. Now it's on developers to manually opt into the service before their games can be streamed. The Long Dark is a notable example of a game that was removed by the developer, but is coming back thanks to this change in policy. Our final story this week is a reminder that Battlefield 5's last content update is launching in just a few short weeks. We'll likely get a trailer or new information this coming week, so stay tuned for coverage of the game's final hours. Obviously, we should all temper our expectations, but this is really DICE's last chance to leave Battlefield 5 in a decent state. Hopefully, they do a good job. And that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. As always, I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.